Hello and welcome to the session on evaluation, phases, functions and instructional objectives. In the previous unit, you have gone through the fundamentals of measurement and evaluation. You have seen the meaning and definition of measurement and evaluation, the differences between the two, major principles of evaluation, etc. In this unit, let us analyze the process of evaluation more thoroughly. We already know that the process of evaluation is done on the basis of certain predetermined objectives. In this unit, we will closely look at the role of instructional objectives in evaluation. By the end of this unit, you will be able to state the three major phases of evaluation, the functions of educational evaluation, the types of evaluation, that is formative and summative evaluation, the meaning and definition of instructional objectives, the role of instructional objectives in educational evaluation, the importance of assessment of needs, the relation between instructional objectives, learning, experiences and evaluation. Phases of evaluation. Many people often wrongly understand evaluation as an activity done at the end of an academic year, term or program. The main characteristic that set evaluation apart from measurement is that it is a continuous process. In other words, it is a continuous cycle with a series of temporary ends. Let us take student evaluation as an example. You have to start the process with a set of predefined instructional objectives which are implemented through a series of instructional strategies. Then you need to measure the achievement of students. This measurement is a temporary end in the cycle. However, the results and feedback obtained from the measurement are analyzed so that the objectives and strategies can be reassessed and revised if necessary. These revised objectives and strategies are implemented again and the cycle continues. Thus, in this cycle, you evaluate not just the educational outcomes, but each and every step in the process. As a general rule, there are three phases in evaluation. Now, let us analyze each phase in some detail. The first phase of evaluation. In the first phase of evaluation, we make plans and take decisions regarding the objectives and the course of action. There are a number of steps involved in this planning phase. They are: step 1. The first step is situation analysis, in which we collect background information and establish the parameters. In education evaluation, teachers analyze the cumulative records and gather information regarding the capabilities, limitations, strengths and weaknesses of their students. The academic history of students is also analyzed in this step. Such an analysis will help teachers to set realistic objectives and goals. Step 2. The second step of planning is to specify the instructional objectives. Here, we need to differentiate between an objective and a goal. The goal is a general statement of purpose, while the objective is a more specific statement of what is to be accomplished. Goals cannot be measured, but objectives can be. Objectives can be of two types: process oriented and product oriented. Process oriented objectives describe what are the outcomes desired in the duration of a process. Product oriented objectives describes what are the results and outcomes desired at the end of the process. Specification of objectives is an important step in planning, since the course of actions and subsequent activities are dependent on objectives. Moreover, it is the achievement of objectives that is measured at the end of the process. Step 3. In the third step of planning phase, we need to specify the prerequisites of objectives. As a general rule, we specify a set of objectives based on the assumption that students already have certain skills and knowledge. Let us take a simple example. Suppose an English teacher wants to introduce the concept of active and passive voice to his or her students. He or she introduces the concept based on the assumption that the students already have an understanding of certain other concepts in English grammar, such as types of sentences, forms of verbs, etc. If the teacher is wrong in his or her assumption, then the objective he or she establishes is not appropriate. The assumptions upon which objectives are formulated are called prerequisites. If instruction and evaluation have to be effective, it is mandatory that the prerequisites are correctly identified and specified. Step 4. The next step is to select or develop appropriate measuring instruments. As we have already seen, evaluation involves measurement and the data obtained is used to determine whether the objectives are achieved or not. In order to do this, you need to use one or more instruments. We can either select most appropriate instruments from the available ones or develop instruments to meet your unique needs. Step 5. In order to achieve your established objectives, some strategies should be employed. There are different types of strategies such as instructional strategies, curriculum strategies and program strategies. A strategy typically involves a number of activities and requires specific set of resources. Before choosing a strategy, a teacher should make sure that adequate planning has gone into it and the necessary resources are available. Step 6. The sixth and final step of planning is the preparation of time schedule. It is important that the time schedule you prepare is realistic. A time schedule should include initiation time and the completion time of all major activities of the evaluation process. It is also important that you give each activity enough time, anticipating any unforeseen delay that might occur during the process. The second phase of evaluation. The second and most important phase of an evaluation involves the actual implementation of the planned instruction or program. A teacher should take decisions depending on the events that occur during the actual implementation. In some cases, pre-tests can be conducted and the results of the pre-test would determine the appropriateness of the predefined objectives. Once the pre-tests are done, one can go ahead with the strategies and activities planned in the planning phase. Data are collected during the phase, which is used to provide feedback on the effectiveness of the strategies and activities. In this phase, a teacher can determine if the evaluation is progressing and being executed as planned. The third phase of evaluation. The third phase of evaluation involves making decisions at the end of one cycle of an educational program, project or unit of instruction. Decisions are made on the basis of cumulative data. The chief aim of this phase is to make decisions regarding the overall effectiveness of instruction, a program or project. The degree to which the intended objectives are achieved is determined during this phase. The results of this phase provide feedback and direction to not only those who are involved in the process of instruction, but to outside decision makers as well. Functions of evaluation. Educational evaluation has a number of functions and applications. Some of the major functions of evaluation are as follows. Diagnosis. Educational evaluation, when used in learning context, is an excellent way to diagnose the factors affecting the learning process. If a teacher is able to diagnose the problems adversely affecting the learning process, such problems can be eliminated. Moreover, it helps teachers understand how far their students have advanced in their journey towards the objectives of instruction. This makes the process of instruction more effective. Quality of teaching. Educational evaluation enhances the quality of teaching. As mentioned earlier, the process of evaluation begins with establishing a set of objectives which are expected to be achieved at the end of instruction or an academic program. Evaluation helps teachers to assess whether those objectives were successfully implemented or not. This in turn will help them assess how far they have been successful in their teaching. Based on evaluation and value judgment, educators can implement new strategies and employ new techniques. As the set of predetermined instructional objectives are achieved, the quality of teaching is increased. Syllabus revision. Educational programs are carried out in accordance with an established syllabus. Educational evaluation helps educators understand the pitfalls in the syllabus and acts as a powerful tool in designing and revising syllabus. Clarification of objectives. Since evaluation is based on objectives, it provides teachers with deeper insights into the various topics to be taught. Thus, in the process of evaluation, instructional objectives become clearer and transparent. Comparison. In order to ensure the successful functioning of an educational system, comparison of different teaching methods, managements, syllabus, etc. are mandatory. Education evaluation helps to do much a comparison. Motivation of students. This is an extremely important function of evaluation. Properly planned and conducted evaluation motivates students to aim for better growth and development. It serves as a stimulus for students to put in greater effort. Tests and other tools used in evaluation are based on the syllabus. Since students know that they are being evaluated continuously, they make more efforts to study the topics in the syllabus. Guidance. Guidance and counseling are integral parts of teaching and education. In order to provide guidance, a teacher should first be able to identify specific difficulties faced by students. Evaluation is an excellent way to identify such difficulties and understand the individual differences between students. This helps an instructor take decisions on the kind of guidance each student requires. Moreover, the abilities of students are measured in the process of evaluation. Educational and vocational guidance can be provided to students based on the data obtained through measurement. Curriculum restructuring. A comprehensive evaluation program helps educators understand the strengths and weaknesses of a curriculum. Moreover, education is a rapidly changing field. New studies and researches are being conducted on the system of education. They become instrumental to changing the curriculum, teaching materials, principles and strategies, etc. Educational policies and reforms. If you look at the history of education, you can see that introduction of new policies and education reforms are crucial to the success of any education system. Evaluation becomes the foundation on which future policies and reforms are carried out. In addition to the above stated functions, evaluation provides the authorities of an education institution with a better system for reporting to the parents regarding the progress of their children. This strengthens the relationship between teachers and parents and school and community. Authorities can also test the efficiency of teachers and their work, as evaluation gives an index of the success of teaching methods and classroom activities. Moreover, evaluation is important in the overall appraisal of the total school programs. Types of evaluation: formative and summative. There are two main types of evaluation, formative and summative. In order to understand the meaning and nature of each of these types and the differences between the two, let us first consider an example. Formative evaluation. Imagine that you are introducing an educational program to your students. You do not introduce the whole program in one go. Instead, you should present it in the form of small teaching points. Moreover, prior to the commencement of instruction, you identify and establish a set of instruction objectives. Once each unit is presented and taught in the class, you evaluate the students on the basis of the anticipated objectives. The major advantage of such an evaluation is that you can diagnose and rectify the weakness of your students, if any, at every stage. Thus, this process enables you to ensure the mastery of the subjects based on whether the educational objectives are realized or not. This function of evaluation, as you can see, is developmental in nature. Therefore, it is called formative evaluation. Functions of formative evaluation. Formative evaluation enables a teacher to ascertain whether, after a learning experience, students are able to do what they were unable to do previously. Gather immediate feedback on the effectiveness of the instructional objectives, which lead to the diagnosis and rectification of weaknesses and problems. Draw more reliable inference about his or her students than someone doing an external evaluation. Identify the different levels of cognitive process of his or her students. This in turn helps the teacher choose the most suitable teaching techniques and materials. determine whether an educational program is feasible or not within the classroom setting. Identify the areas that require modification and improvement in the process of teaching and learning. Determine the outcome of summative evaluation to a considerable extent. Formative evaluation can be defined as a system in which the quality and effectiveness of instruction is determined at each step of the teaching learning process. When conducted continuously, it makes instructional process more dynamic and effective. It is used for improving the performance of not only the student, but the teacher and curriculum developers as well. Summative evaluation. Summative evaluation, unlike formative evaluation, is conducted at the end of an educational program or project. It can be defined as an evaluation directed towards a general assessment of the extent to which the larger outcomes of a program or project have been achieved in the entire duration of the course. A teacher can do a summative evaluation at a term or academic year. Annual examinations are summative in nature. It is usually done at the end of a course or program, especially for grading, certification, placement, etc. Summative evaluation is used to determine the degree to which the broad objectives of an educational program have been attained. It is primarily related to the aims, progress and outcomes of the learning teaching process. It should be noted that summative evaluation is judgmental in nature and more objective as compared to formal evaluation. Evaluation and instructional objectives. First things first, what is an instructional objective? In order to understand what an objective is, let us consider an example. A physics teacher conducts a multiple choice test on Newton's laws of motion. After the test, she measures the scores of the students and finds out that 7 students in the class scored 55 out of 100 marks in the test. Now, the teacher evaluates the results and she has to answer 2 questions. Did these 7 students pass the test? Did these 7 students attain 100% mastery over the subject? The answer to the first question is yes, because the score acquired to pass the test was 50 out of 100. All these 7 students scored 55 marks, hence they have passed the test. The answer to the second question is no, because they couldn't answer all the questions asked on the subject. In order to arrive at these 2 answers, the teacher used the same measurement, that is the scores of her students, but the answers to these questions are different. In other words, the value judgment differed even when the measurement remained the same. Why? The reason behind the difference is that the measurement was judged with the 2 different goals in view. The goal of the first judgment was to ascertain whether the students passed the test, while the goal of the second judgment was to determine the mastery of students over the subject. We have already learned that the evaluation is the process in which value is assigned to a measurement on the basis of certain predetermined and specific goals. Such specific goals that give direction to evaluation are called instructional objectives. The role of objectives in educational evaluation. It goes without saying that objectives stand at the heart of all evaluation and assessment activities in education. They give direction to the process of educational evaluation. In other words, they help an instructor decide what to evaluate and how to evaluate. Moreover, they are indicators of whether the process of instruction was successful or not. Educational evaluation requires that a set of specific goals should be determined prior to the commencement of the process. That is to say, if teachers have to evaluate their students, the instructional objectives have to be identified and defined earlier. Objective based evaluation and objective based instruction. Objectives have a crucial role to play in both instruction and evaluation. We have seen in the last module that the first phase of evaluation is planning, which includes the specification of objectives. Such evaluations which are done on the basis of predefined objectives are commonly called objective based evaluations. when teachers identify and define their instructional objectives, they get clarity on what they are planning to achieve. Objective based evaluation gives teachers clearer insights into the behavior and response patterns of their students. That is to say, teaching or instruction becomes more goal oriented and purposeful when objectives are identified and specified. This is called objective based approach to instruction, which is one of the most successful models of instruction adopted by teachers across the world today. The relation between objectives, learning experiences and evaluation. Instructional objectives, learning experiences and evaluation are three important terms used in education. We have already seen the objectives give direction to both instruction and evaluation, but if instructional objectives should become tangible or attainable, experience should be gained by engaging in appropriate learning activities. In other words, instructional objectives are attained by means of learning experiences. The extent to which objectives are attained through learning experiences are judged through the process of evaluation. Let us analyze this cycle step by step. Instructional objectives are identified and specified, which give direction to the process of instruction or teaching. In order to attain these objectives, the students need to gain learning experiences. Learning experiences are provided through learning activities. As a result of learning experiences, behavior changes are produced. The degree of realization of instructional objectives are gathered and evaluated in terms of these behavior changes. Thus, instructional objectives serve two purposes in education. Firstly, they act as the foundation on which learning activities are planned, which in turn produces learning experiences. Secondly, they act as the basis for evaluating the effectiveness and the success of learning. Therefore, we can say that the process of teaching involves three interconnected and inseparable steps: identification or formulation of instructional objectives, provision of learning experiences through learning activities, and the evaluation of effectiveness of learning. Assessment of needs. Instructional objectives are formulated after assessing the needs. Every education system has a large number of objectives, but it is not possible to aim at achieving all these objectives. Therefore, an education endeavor should choose and prioritize certain objectives over others. This is where assessment of needs become important. Now, how do we define a need? We can say that there is a need if there is a gap between the status quo, that is the way the situation is, and the desired outcome, that is the way we want the situation to be. Educational objectives are formulated to eliminate the need. The first step in the process is to identify the need, which is called the assessment of needs. The nature and specification of objectives depend on the assessment of needs to a large extent. Now, you can try to answer the questions listed here. What does it mean to specify the prerequisites of objectives? Explain using an example. Why is it important to develop measuring devices and instructional strategies in the planning phase of evaluation? How does evaluation helps in guidance and counseling? How does educational evaluation impact the quality of teaching? What is meant by summative evaluation? Now, you may go through the reference books given here. Education in India, Problems and Perspectives, written by -M and published by Atlantic Publishers, New Delhi in the year 2000. Modern Trends in Indian Education, written by Mohanty J and published by Deep and Deep Publications, New Delhi in the year 2004. Educational Measurement and Evaluation, written by Rani J.S. and published by Discovery Publishing House, New Delhi in the year 2004. Thank you for watching this program. We can meet again with another topic. Have a nice time.